touch grass. If you spent any time on the internet, you know what this means. If you don't, or you don't know, in this context, it means telling someone to go outside, implying they're spending too much time online and it's affecting their well-being. Now, I know many people like to use this term, however, none of you actually follow the advice, myself included. Spending too much time on the internet can lead to a plethora of issues, including misinformation, depression, and other mental health concerns. Remember when you were younger and your mother told you not to believe everything you see online? Well, now she's sending you fake articles on Facebook about the COVID-19 vaccine and how it causes cancer. Although it may be hard for some of us to understand how this could happen, it's usually due to echo chambers. The start of these echo chambers usually begin with propaganda. According to the article, Disinformation and Echo Chambers, How Disinformation Circulates on Social Media Through Identity-Driven Controversies. They've got to stop putting every single thing in the titles, that was too much. Disinformation spreads rapidly throughout digital media, which can in turn make its way into popular culture. Additionally, people like being around other like-minded individuals who share similar goals and ideas, even if it's being united in mutual hatred. For example, let's look at how right-wing media host Rush Limbaugh, something like that, built a disparity of trust between his audience and critics. Rhetorically, his strategies provided a restricted language, i.e. snowflakes, emphasizing group identity. Conservatives are patriots against adversaries, liberals are globalists, thus not patriots. Echo chambers are the trenches in which cultural wars are fought as people enlist in identity-based controversies, steering narratives through oppositions against real or imaginary adversaries. Now, I have to admit, before I read this article, I had no idea who Rush was. After reading this article, I still wish I had no idea who Rush was. You would think that this man was the second coming of Jesus Christ himself with the way people are talking about him. He's just a guy. This only helps to further prove the point of how dangerous being in an echo chamber can be. Being in an echo chamber can elevate the common man to the level of a god. Having a community where all of your greatest fears are realized is very advantageous if you don't like to have to think.
It's mental illness, innit?
Did you know that internet addiction is a real disorder? Well, to be more technical, it's internet gaming disorder, but that is bound to change as it is marked under the DSM as needing revision. Young adults in college are currently one of the biggest groups being affected, which is great news for me. Depression and anxiety are the two most common emotional problems for young adults specifically. A study found that severity of internet addiction directly relates to the level of depression and anxiety. Additionally, men have a higher rate of internet addiction than women. Again, great news for me. To add to this wonderful cake of negative statistics, depression and anxiety can often lead to greater internet usage, which in turn makes depression and anxiety even worse. Now, due to the internet being relatively new in the history of the world, we don't have many longitudinal studies yet. However, we have started conducting more and more research in recent years in order to help understand internet addiction and to help learn how we can treat it. A paper released by Statistics of Canada helps us further understand this topic. Data from 13,600 adolescents aged 12 to 17 were drawn from the 2019 Canadian Health Survey on Children and Youth. Adolescents reported on how frequently they use social media, video, or instant messaging, and online gaming, as well as their general mental health, eating disorder symptoms, and, for those aged 15 to 17, suicidal ideation and attempt. Many aspects of the study that were identified were not much of a surprise. More than half of Canadians aged 12 to 17 use social media and video or instant messaging several times a day or more. No shocker there. And girls use social media and video or instant messaging more frequently than boys, while boys participate in online gaming more frequently than girls. Also something that I feel like a lot of us already knew. The real meat and potato of the study was how mental health was negatively affected. When looking at girls, they had a higher risk of suicide and an even higher risk of eating disorders. The risk only went up the more time a day they spent online. On the flip side, eating disorder risk went down the more time they spent playing video games. Suicidal ideation did go up for girls who played video games though, for some reason. Now, many of us do know that social media can lead to eating disorder in girls. This is something that's been studied quite a lot. However, did you know the same is true for boys? This study also found that increased social media use can lead to an increased level of eating disorders and depression in boys as well. Additionally, video games have no strong negative effect. A W for gamers, I guess. Nope, that was not a good... Nope, that was a
At the end of the day, it's not that funny, is it? Because there could be orphans playing.
Look, I could spend hours talking about all the statistics and the negatives and lecturing you on deleting social media, but what will that achieve? Will you actually go offline? No. Don't lie to yourself. What I do hope to achieve, however, is a greater understanding of the digital world. The internet is terrifying, and it's used for a lot of bad stuff. However, identifying some of the core issues can help not only you, but others use the internet more responsibly. Additionally, we can't just stop using the internet. That's not something that's possible in our current world. What we can do, however, is use the information we already have to alter the internet and make it safer. Online moderation has already come a long way to make the internet a safer place than it was in the early 2000s. Any of you who are familiar with those early 2000s shock videos know exactly what I'm talking about. The jar video still haunts me to this day. Now, as we know, we are nowhere close to making the internet the place we want it to be. However, hopefully, with time and more information, we can. The train picked the best time to make an appearance.